It's 1:05 in the afternoon. Dominica, welcome to the Talk on the Block. If it's on the block, we'll talk about it. This afternoon we have a guest. This guest is no new guest, but he hasn't been around for a while, especially on my show. I know he was on Walix Creole Halpit a couple of weeks ago. He's former ambassador of the United Nations for Dominica. We're just going to talk about a few current issues. And of course, we'll take some of your questions. But we're only here for 1 hour. He's a very busy guy. I'm sure he has other matters to take care of. But before we start the conversation, let's do a quick break. We'll come back for word from our sponsors.
Attention homeowners, contractors, tradesmen, and all. Here's great news from Eaststar Trading Limited. Just received a wide range of German premium quality power tools, vacuum cleaners, cement mixers, power wash machines, and more. And grass cutters at only $595. Visit our showroom upstairs of the supermarket on the bayfront for world-class Ronix power tools, swipers, power car wash, spray guns, and many more items. All are 220 volts to 50 hertz and all at affordable prices. Eaststar Trading Limited, making a difference for you.
Dominicans, enjoy your property, protect your property. You homeowner and businessman, protect your property, enjoy your property. Can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till you flood again, can't wait till your roof fly out and all your business coming out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season and insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseau. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and get insured today.
The case is constructed based on the Dominican Constitution on the principle that all monies and revenues earned by the government is meant to be paid in the consolidated fund. Significant funds are not reaching the consolidated fund, but is being sent pursuant to other types of arrangements.
And so, the United Workers' Party and All Patriots presents another big radiothon on the big station Q95 on the hot set on Wednesday, the 20th of November 2024 from 12 noon. We are looking forward to your contribution. It's time the authorities bring the people's money back to the people's treasury. Participate, donate, and be counted. My dear Dominicans, it's your country. It's our country. Let's save it.
Good afternoon to you, Dominica. Good afternoon, the region, and good afternoon as the world. As I told you before, with us for the next hour, Mr. Crispin Gregoire, a former ambassador to the United Nations For about 10 years, I must maybe right, a little more, maybe 10.
8 years.
8 years.
And then 4 years at UNDP.
Okay. So that's almost 12 years here.
I spent a good 12 years at UN, yes.
Working for the government of Dominica.
Well, 8 years working for the government of Dominica, 4 years working with the United Nations Development Program, and 1 year working with the President of the General Assembly.
So you can tell this is a man with a lot of international experience. From the community of Guabe. So let's say good afternoon to you, Mr. Gregor. How are you doing today?
Yes, good afternoon, Matt. Doing well, and quite relaxed after being here for a few weeks.
Relaxed?
Yes.
I thought you were in your farm.
I was on my farm. I've been working there for the last 5 weeks, and I go there almost every day, and I'm getting ready for the harvest, the turmeric harvest, as I'm
turmeric.
a turmeric farmer. Yeah.
Okay, so why turmeric?
Because it's one of the products that is going to be, it's already one of the big items in the world. It's a major crop, even in the U.S. The U.S. is the largest importer. Unfortunately, Dominican turmeric is not allowed to enter the U.S. in raw form, but Jamaica and St. Vincent are allowed to export raw turmeric into the U.S. So I'm hoping that Dominica will work that out so that we can export, but we can export processed turmeric.
So why is turmeric so important? I'm not a health expert.
It's a great, it's a very strong anti-inflammation agent.
Okay.
It has the ingredient in it is called curcumin, and it's been used in Indian traditional medicine, as well as as Chinese traditional medicine. And I should say, Matt, that it was used a lot during the pandemic to fight COVID, and it's something that's been used in Dominica for a long time. I saw that the Caribs has been using it for more than 100 years, but we just didn't know that well.
So you would encourage farmers listening at this time to get into turmeric production?
Yes. Oh, definitely. It's a crop with a great promise for export, even in our two neighboring islands of Guadeloupe and Martinique. And I did hear a man on your show sometime, Mr. Chillingford, Ken Chillingford mentioned that.
He spoke about that.
Guadeloupe has a big demand because Guadeloupe has an East Indian population who love curry, and 80% of curry is turmeric. Most people don't know that. So you can't make curry without turmeric. And so it grows well here in Dominica. It's a plant that likes water. So and once you put it in the ground, you don't have to worry about it. And the reason why I can farm turmeric is I just plant it and I don't care about it. I haven't harvested for 3 years and it's there.
So you don't have to weed anything
I don't worry about weeds, Matt. It's just the weeds don't really trouble it. I mean, you'd get a better yield if you weed, but for me, I just plant and I don't worry about weeds because the real product is under the ground.
Something like a ginger plant.
Yes, it's part of the ginger family. Yes, and it grows like ginger, and so we get into that point where most people plant. It's like a 9-month crop, so most of the farmers know that come December, beginning of December, turmeric harvest is starting and will last till April.
So it's marketable.
It's very marketable.
Viable as well?
Yes, viable. And turmeric, a pound of turmeric in the US is $15.
US?
US, yes. But processed turmeric, that is dried turmeric that's made into powder, will even fetch a higher price. So it's a product that we should be growing.
So what according to your knowledge is the difficulty Dominica has in getting turmeric to the overseas market?
Well, it's only the US that has that requirement that raw turmeric from Dominica cannot enter the US. So that's a regulation of the US Department of Agriculture, and I hope that our Department of Agriculture here can work out with the U.S. Department of Agriculture so that we can get over that hurdle. If Jamaican turmeric and turmeric from St. Vincent and Grenadines can enter the U.S. in raw form, then I don't know why.
Something's up.
Yeah. So that's something that we have to investigate as a country and see. But it's a product that has high demand. I mean, India is the largest producer.
Wow.
And Jamaica is the largest producer in our region.
An interesting story.
Yeah.
I hope the farmers are listening. So what have you been doing otherwise than being in your farm for the past 5 weeks? You've been monitoring what's going on in Dominica? What's your take on some of the current issues of the day?
Yes. Well, Matt, before I start that, I wanted to give a shout out to a dear lady from Dominica. Her name is Miss Helen Richards, also known as Cece. She celebrated her 94th birthday recently in Dailies, and I just wanted to recognize her.
Sure.
But Matt, I came here. I spent the whole month of October here, which is a great month to be in Dominica because of all the culture.
Because it's my birthday too.
And it's your birthday too. Oh, great. Okay. And and also my birthday is in October, so October is a month that right. I celebrate the whole month. So it was great to be here for Quail Month and all the culture and the the revival, the food, and all the diaspora people who came, and I crossed paths with people I hadn't seen for years. So that was great, and then I was there for the Independence Days after the Quail Festival, and so it's been a great time. I've been following, well, of course, the world doesn't stop. So I'm here, but I'm following avidly what's happening in Ukraine, what's happening in Africa, what's happening in Gaza, what's happening worldwide, and also the big development of the day, which is the election of President Trump.
That's the biggest story for the day.
Yes, that one is important because the whole world is watching. It's like we've reached a point where this election of the U.S. will define where we go as in the world goes. There are a lot of variables that we have to watch.
Would it be good for the Caribbean, including Dominica? Is that I think that's a big question being asked because I'm hearing a lot of people might be exported or deported. Deported.
We'll talk about that. The thing is that I can't say yet whether it will be good and bad for the Caribbean. I think that based on the utterances of President Trump, there are some things that we need to be concerned about. One of them is immigration, and for the average Dominican and those who are in the diaspora, immigration will be high on their mind because President Trump has threatened to deport 11 million undocumented workers. Mm-hmm. And personally, I don't think that's viable. I don't think it can be done, Matt. It's one thing to make a threat, but to carry it out, I think it's going to be impossible because that alone will cost, to deport all of these people will cost the U.S. upwards of $50 million.
50.
Yes, to just get them out if they have to get them out. Now, let me say that there is a wrong kind of concept that most of the undocumented people in the U.S. are people from the Caribbean, from South America, Central America. A lot of these people are from Europe, and because they come to the U.S. Their countries allow them to come to the U.S. without visa. So they can come to the U.S. for up to 90 days. And they overstay. So there's a large block of people, especially from Eastern Europe, in that 11 million. I think it's more like 15 million. Now, how do you deport 11 million when you need workers? That's the question I would pose to the administration, because the manufacturing sector of the United States urgently needs workers. The farm sector, the farmers need workers. Now, who's going to pick the apples and who's going to pick the broccoli? Who's going to pick the peppers, the green peppers? So that these is undocumented people who are doing that. So if you export them, if you deport them, then tell me who's going to do those things. So you're going to have a labor crisis in the United States if that is carried out. Now, the second thing I want to say about undocumented workers is that they contribute to the U.S. economy. They pay sales tax. From the day they arrive in the U.S., they've been paying sales tax, Matt. And every day you go to the store, you have to pay sales tax. Now, if these people have been here for 30 years, some of them have been there for 30 years undocumented, they have paid a substantial amount of sales tax. So how do you say that I have not contributed to the U.S. economy? Yes, I have. Any undocumented person say, yes, I have. And therefore, I have a stake. Now, I'm going to take a gamble here and say that policy, if they try to implement it, is going to be mired in legal battles in the courts.
So you think there'll be a backlash?
In the courts, there's going to be backlash in the courts. There's many court cases, and there's going to be protests in the streets. That's what I see, Matt. Because the immigrant groups are not going to take that sitting down. They're not going to take deportation sitting down. Now, what does that mean for islands like Dominica? It means that if they deport all of these people, we will get a reduction in remittances. The amount of money, because these undocumented people are sending money home every week, every month. Now, if they're deported, that money is gone. And secondly, they now become a burden to the countries that they'll be sent back to. If they are sent back to, let us say they send back to Haiti, send back to Dominica, send back to Jamaica, you know what's going to mean? It's going to mean
more crisis in this country.
More crisis.
Because you have to provide employment.
Exactly. And you're going to have a lot of people who are unhappy, who are bewildered, who are frustrated. And so, Matt, I'm hoping it won't happen. I don't believe it's going to happen, but the threat is there. And when there's such a threat from the most powerful man on the earth, then you have to worry.
As a matter of fact, I looked at the video on the weekend, and some people are already leaving because of that threat, going to Canada, trying to go to Canada.
Yes. And the Canadians are very concerned because they're saying that they're worried that there'll be a shift because the U.S. border is going to be closed on the Mexico side. The Canadians are worried that the traffickers will start using Canada as the entry point into the U.S. And there's that worry. Of course, the Canadians themselves have other worries about the Trump presidency, but we're not going to focus on that now. But I wanted to say the other thing for the Caribbean that is of real concern is climate change. Because here you have a man who's coming to be the president of the U.S. for a second time, doesn't believe in climate change as an existential threat, as we know it should be.
Right.
He withdrew from the Paris Climate Accord, and President Biden went back into the climate accord. But now we believe that maybe on the first day that the president, on January 20th, when he becomes president, he might pull out again from the Paris Climate Change Accord. Now, that will have a direct impact on islands like ours because we rely on climate change monies, finance, to deal with the adaptation to the destructive parts of climate change, trying to deal with our energy transition from fossil fuels to renewable, as we're trying to do here with geothermal. I believe that the world is going to have a setback with the advances we made over climate change in the last 4 years. We stand to lose that advance that we made. We are moving, and this whole notion of keeping the warming to 1.5 degrees would be under severe threat if the U.S. pulls out of the.
So why is Trump so against climate change? If you will, that discussion.
He doesn't believe in the science. He doesn't believe that the scientists are right. He believes in fossil fuel. One of his favorite terms is drill, baby, drill. That means that they're going to keep drilling oil. And if you're going to keep drilling oil, then you're not addressing the climate problem, because all you're doing is you're exacerbating it. You're making it worse.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Matt, we at that point where we really need to reduce the burning of fossil fuels, particularly gas and oil, for electricity, for vehicles, and for industries. And if we don't, then we reach a tipping point, and we are now. I mean, right now, the Conference of Parties for the UN Climate Framework Convention on Climate Change is going on in Azerbaijan as we speak, and not a lot of progress yet. You know, of course, we are into the second week, which is the last week, I looked at where we are on today, the beginning of the second week. I'm not so optimistic as whether we will come out of that COP in Azerbaijan with real progress, because we are not making progress on keeping the warming down to 1.5, and so
there's a serious repercussion there for the Caribbean if, as you said, that Mr. Trump will decide not to put any more funding in that area.
Right. And Matt, beyond climate change, there are other issues in our region that the U.S. is going to focus on under Trump. And one of them, we have the free countries of Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. I believe that the Trump administration will be very hard-nosed with those free countries. And Venezuela.
You say Cuba? Yes.
Cuba, yes. Cuba has a very difficult economic situation now, and we really need to get the U.S. should lift the embargo. Really, it's time to lift the embargo, but the U.S. is not committed to that.
The question is why, after so many years, that the U.S. has not lifted the embargo. I mean, give me a good reason.
Well, they have specific laws that the U.S. Congress passed that makes it almost difficult for it to be lifted. It's almost you have to have a total like a 60% majority of the Senate agreeing to that, and I don't see that happening right now. Right, so that's one. So that embargo is a huge onerous thing. Now, President Obama tried to relax the tension with Cuba, and then as soon as he left and Trump came, he ratcheted it up. I mean, imagine, for example, you can't send a Western Union transfer to Cuba now. You could do it under Obama, but Trump ended that. So it's very difficult to do financial transfers with Cuba. And so Cuba is going to be under some pressure. Venezuela is going to be under serious pressure.
You don't see them lifting the embargo at all?
No, I don't see the embargo being lifted. Not now. And also, too, very interesting development. The man who is now going, the nominee to be the Secretary of State, Senator Marco Rubio, he's a Cuban American. And you know what that means? He will take a hard line against Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua.
You would have thought that he would be different.
I don't think so, Matt. I think, and if you look at his record in the Congress. Secondly, Senator Rubio is very anti-China in the region. So that's another arena we're going to see. We're going to see increased competition between the United States and China in the Caribbean. And that makes me be concerned for a number of things, because the Chinese have invested quite a bit in our region, as you know, and Dominica included. And then we have the airport that's being built here. I worry in the intense rivalry I see that's going to emerge between the U.S. and China in our region. I think our airport is going to come under scrutiny because it's being built by Chinese labor. And Matt, I would hate to see something that happened in the 80s, where the Cubans were building an airport in Grenada, and that airport was singled out as a threat to U.S. national security.
Oh.
I would hate for that kind of
thing
to be attached to the airport.
So you think the authorities should be a little worried or concerned about that?
The authorities here should at least make the U.S. understand that they're not building an airport that will be a threat to U.S. security. The fact that it's being built by the U.S.'s main rival, the Chinese, in the U.S. backyard is something to ponder about. I don't want to.
You don't want to say too much.
I don't want to raise any alarms, but I'm saying that
given what happened in Grenada,
right? But there are people in Washington who believe that this airport has some military
connections, if you will,
capabilities, which the Chinese might exploit. So we have to be open-minded about these things. But these are some of the things. And I should say, lastly, that the Trump administration, and that has to do with Dominica's electoral reform. Matt, the Trump administration took a position that Dominica should do the reform before the 2019 election. There was a speech made by the U.S. ambassador at the OAS in 2019, basically calling on Dominica to do the reforms before holding any election. Just like the court, the Caribbean Court of Justice has said there are taints that need to be addressed. And the interesting thing is that some of these people who took that position are now back in policy making for the U.S. And we're talking about the former ambassador of the U.S. to the OAS, Ambassador Trujillo. He's working very closely with Senator Rubio. They're both Cuban American. There are other people who were at the State Department back in 20. They're very familiar. They're very familiar with Dominica's electoral reform challenge, and these people are coming back to make policy starting in January. So that they're going to again say, "Oh, but Dominica hasn't made any progress on its electoral reform." After how many years? 4 years has passed since we were there, and they still haven't done anything. So I believe that, and Matt, the opposition party in Dominica, the UWP, they had actually appealed to some of these same people who are now going to come and make policy, like Senator Rubio. I know that I'm aware that the former opposition leader of Dominica, Lennox Linton, did speak to Rubio's office on Capitol Hill about the electoral reform issue here. So Senator Rubio is very much informed about our situation.
And they would be very sort of concerned about the fact that it has not been implemented.
Exactly. And I believe that it will be incumbent on the UWP to go back to Senator Rubio and say, Senator, we have some things in common to discuss.
Interesting. The question has been asked before. Who do you think, what party, the Republicans or the Democrats, which party do you think is better for the Caribbean region? Is that a difficult question?
That's a difficult question because, Matt, some people say it's the Republicans and some people say it's the Democrats. The Republicans have something that they did which was very important to the Caribbean, and it was the Caribbean Basin Initiative, which was passed in the 1980s when Miss Charles was in government.
Right.
And that gave us duty-free access into the United States market for a period. I'm not sure what is the trading core issues right now. I'd have to go back and look at what are our trading issues. We keep trying to increase our trade as a region with the U.S., but we have a huge imbalance in trade because the U.S. has been our largest trading partner. The Chinese have increased their presence, in the trading arena in the Caribbean, and
we definitely see more Chinese products here for sure.
Oh, definitely, but we're not selling them much. But the Chinese are buying, for example, oil from Venezuela. We don't really have much to sell the Chinese yet.
What about water?
Water is in abundance. We could sell them water, especially bottled water. We haven't done that. We haven't done anything with water as an industry, and that I'm dismayed by that because we're wasting a precious resource. Matt, only 3% of water on Earth is fresh water. We are in that 3%, but yet we haven't created an industry to take advantage of that shortage of fresh water.
I've been told that the next war will be over water.
I believe so. And it's already happening. There's conflict around water already in many places. It's just that it hasn't reached full blown. But there's a impending kind of conflict between the Ethiopians and the other countries that is downstream from the Nile. It's over water, It's because the Ethiopians built this huge dam, and filling it would take years. It's almost full, but but the other countries are saying, wait a minute, we're not getting as much water from the Nile as we used to. So there's already.
So you think we should talk to the Chinese, especially about bottling our water, sending it back to China in terms of the trade there?
Yeah, I
That's
think
a possibility.
yes, I think we should. What I'd like to see is for the Wasco to be reformed and transformed into an exporter of water, because that's our largest resource. So that's not even in the mindset of the Wasco. They're not thinking about bottling water. In fact, I've heard them say that it's an expensive option, and I'm not convinced. I mean, water is getting to be a scarce commodity on the planet because of climate change, and that window of making some income from water, if we miss it, we will be sorry.
All right, I'm going to open up the lines at this time. We don't have too much time, so I'm going to open up the lines. See if you feel like you need to ask Mr. Gregoire a question. Feel free to do so. The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, or 305-432-9624. Mr. Trump has said that the wars going on around the world will stop under his administration. What do you think, Mr. Gregoire?
Well, I think he will certainly do everything to initiate peace strategies, and I know that the two most important ones on the agenda is Gaza and Gaza/Lebanon and Ukraine. Now, the problem with Ukraine is that whether he will push for a peace settlement that requires Ukraine to give up territory. And I have heard Senator Rubio kind of intimate that idea that Ukraine should agree to take a loss of territory for peace, in exchange for peace. I don't know how that's going to happen. There will be a long, lengthy negotiation process. I don't know what the Ukrainians will be ready to accept, what the Europeans will be ready to accept from Russia, but that's yeah.
He's a friend of Israel for sure. He's an ally.
He's maybe even a closer ally to Israel than President Biden, although President Biden was equally strongly pro-Israeli. One of the things that Trump did in his last year in office was he promoted the Abraham Accords, which is to get the Arab countries to recognize Israel. And there are a few Arab countries that did sign on to the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Oman, and Bahrain, the Gulf states plus Morocco and Sudan. And one of the things that happened is that for Morocco, Trump said that he would recognize the sovereignty over Western Sahara for going to Morocco.
Let me take a phone call. I think somebody's on the telephone. Are you there, Carl? Yes?
Hey, Mr. Pelty, blessings to you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Ambassador, blessings to you, my cousin. Wagwan.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you, Mr. Blessings?
I give in thanks, blessings. Matt, so you go plant turmeric now. Okay,
I'll have to try. Yeah.
My beloved brother, I am watching the whole shift on a global scale, having to do, you have the G7, you have NATO, and now you have almighty BRICS. So the whole transition of power and influence, no unipolar, it's multipolar, and all of that. The Caribbean countries, Africa, and all of them, the thing about Republican and Democrats, we should be very careful who will favor us more or better, because there is a transition of or a shift of power, of focus. Or you say it's over water. I think they might fight over bricks, you know. I think it's over bricks they will fight. You know, Erdogan, why in Turkey, a member of NATO contemplating joining BRICS, my beloved ambassador brother.
Yes.
So that kind of thing, India playing a double role, and Saudi Arabia contemplating, and the UAE already in, and come on, and looking about the de-dollarization, looking to kill the US dollar or to phase out the US dollar. We must be careful as a people and thinking who is going to favor us in that geopolitical murky waters. Uncertainties. I just wanted to say that. Thank you, sir. Blessings.
Thank you. Let's see if we get another telephone call. Are you there? Yeah.
Yes, man. Good afternoon to you and your guests.
Good afternoon, sir.
Matt, you know, I've been listening and I heard Mr. Gregor said some fine things, but some things, you know, it's going to depend on what Mr. Trump decides to do. But before I go there, I want to say something about Dominica's produce or products that's having problems to bring raw material into America. Matt, America has certain standards that they go by as far as agricultural products. Anything you bring in that is green or live to the point where, say, you want to bring some green herbs in, they don't let you do that. It has to be dry and it has to be done properly. What the problem is with Dominica products, and it has been many years ago, some years back, it was some mango that somebody was trying to bring into the U.S. through the Virgin Islands, and the mangoes were not fit for America product. But the mangoes were St. Lucian mangoes, and they were passing it as Dominica mangoes, and Dominica get the blame for that. And since then, Dominica been having problems bringing things in America, and the government, useless government, never tried to do anything about it. So these things are, you know, all what you're talking about and all the issues that plague the region and what bad governance and lazy and lackadaisical attitude towards world issues and global issues in the region is why the people suffer, Matt. It's no other excuse. It's not that because our standards are not there as far as the quality of the product. The quality of the product is good. And how many years ago a government said they're going to make the first organic, fully organic nation? It's not there, Matt. Organic money is bigger than fertilizer money. When you have products that you do organic on the market, you almost get 1.5 the price, or at least a 10-20% more than if you have a regular product, because most people buying it now. And the turmeric he's talking about is a big product. It's a very, very popular product. It's in many things. And that is the base of curry, like he said. You know, you can't have curry if you don't have turmeric. So you can forget it. Curry, mustard, and all these other things. But my thing with what he's saying about the agenda of Trump in the region, Matt, they are going to do some things. But I'm going to tell you, I just sent you a note, and it's going to depend on the national security of America, because Trump already tell you the last term, they didn't want no people from asshole countries coming in their country. And what he's telling you, the people, he want people coming from Norway. They want people coming from European nations. It's out there. The man tell you that the last time. Okay? Not only that, if there is any national security issues based on the government, so for instance, you have Cuba, you have Venezuela, and they lean in China and Russia, and these are the ties. If there is any national security to America, in that case, the interest will be the Caribbean. Other than that, they don't care. Because I'll tell you, when Ronald Reagan was in office, that was during the years of the Cold War, when the Cubans were building the airport in Grenada. That's when they came into the country. That's when the Caribbean Basin Initiative was in effect, and it was very, very confidential and protective to America. America, what you call, protects its national interest. And if we in the region get wrapped up in it, then we get some benefit from it as far as protection and whatever it does to protect America. Other than that, we out in the cold. But our main thing is bad leadership. Our leadership don't take and deal with our biggest neighbor, one of the baddest in the world, the big dog. We want to go to Russia. We want to deal with all kind of dictators and everywhere and create problem in the region for the people. Because remember, man, if I do something and I'm running by your house, in your house, and Matt, I need cover by your house. You know, I'm bringing pressure on you, okay? I'm just making a little example. This is how it works in the international world. And when you get diplomatic like that, it even get worse.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I see you're running like a energizer battery this afternoon there, but very good points there. But I was thinking, you think the United States, for example, from an international point of view, is concerned about who we're selling passports to?
Well, it will always be an issue because Matt, when it comes to foreign policy, there's really no difference between Republicans and Democrats. So anything that in that foreign policy realm, when the new administration comes in, they're going to look back at. The for the CBI countries of the Caribbean, they reached a set of principles with the United States. I'm sure that a new administration will be paying attention to what's going on because this is an ongoing issue. For the clearly, there's a huge problem with the governance of the income from the CBI in all the countries, and Dominica is no exception to that. I believe that there will be greater focus by the U.S. Treasury on Dominica's CBI. I believe so. Not only Dominica, but also the other four countries that have CBI in the OACS. I believe that the issue of corruption will resonate again. Not that Trump is so focused on corruption per se, but the fact that there are growing problems in the region. We're seeing more than one country have problems with financial accountability. And we're seeing a big country, Jamaica, has governance problems. I mean, there's integrity issues in Jamaica that need to be looked at seriously. And it will be interesting to see how all of this plays out. Some things that Mr. Trump said during the campaign are campaign rhetoric. Some things that I think is just bluster for campaign to whip up sentiment from supporters.
Hello, on the telephone, yes?
Hey, Matt, how you doing? Good day. Good day, Crispin.
Yes, good day.
Crispin, I see you playing your politics as usual, but I got a question for you, and also I have a follow-up when you answer me. Can you tell me and Matt listeners what that has to do with a Chinese company building the airport? What national security threat is that to the United States? A Chinese company building an airport. And then I have a follow-up question for you. Can you explain that to me, please?
I didn't say there was a national security threat. I said that.
And listen,
Mr. Al, there's a perception in United States circles that an airport being built by Chinese would be of interest to United States. That is what, and I don't need to say more. You are an expert. You think about that. You live in America. Think about that. Think about how Americans will think about an airport that's being built by the Chinese. Now, we might not see anything. We Dominicans might not see anything wrong with that because we want an airport. We want an international airport. But there are larger issues around that are tied to security, that are tied to where it's being built, in the region it's being built. So these are things that are of interest and will be of interest to United States policymakers.
And you wanted a follow-up question? Go ahead.
Yes, Matt, I do. Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Crispin, I'm listening to you. No disrespect, sir. I respect your views, and I hope you respect mine too. But are you telling me the Americans are also looking at one of the biggest ports the Chinese built? Are you now telling me, Mr. Crispin? I know you've seen it over the news last week. The Chinese now open one of the biggest ports in Honduras, trying to beat the Panama Canal.
It just opened in Peru.
Peru.
Excuse me.
He said
We see the Chinese building something in South America, which
But he just told you Peru. He just told you Peru. He didn't deny what you said.
okay, for Peru.
What
Isn't
is
that
your
a big
what
of-
is your question then? What's your question, sir?
No, but I'm saying you're talking about.
I'm not here to have a dialogue with you. I just want to know what your question is.
Well, my question is, isn't that what a bigger threat economy-wise to the United States?
No. I don't think so. Matt, we should go on to the next caller, please.
Next call 449-3095. 150. Talk to me. Yes.
Matt, I just want to greet Mr.
Yes.
Gregoire.
Uh-huh.
And
Good
I want
afternoon.
to also just cite the example of Grenada. Just remember what happened in Grenada. If Al thinks Mr. Gregoire is not talking reality, look at the perception that was had in Grenada when the Cubans were building that airport and what resulted. And even our own prime minister triggered it. Thank you, gentlemen.
I don't think I was following politics in those days there. 4493 or international news. Hello, talk to me on the telephone, yes? 449-3095. Are you there?
Yes, Matt, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
And good afternoon to Honorable Ambassador Crispin Gregoire.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, Matt, I love Crispin because he has his citizenship for Salisbury. So anytime I'll try to attack him, I believe I will run into a lot of problems. Serious, because I'll just listen and he just talk like he talking about politics, but he doesn't make sense. No time I listen to him. Anyway, Matt, I just call to agree with Crispin policy. That's why I love Crispin, because his ideology and mind and philosophy that line up properly. And I believe in terms of immigration, Matt, that's a proposal. Trump just talk, but he never have clear policy. So it's going to be very difficult to deport 11 million people, Matt. It's going to cost them a lot of money. And the business people, the farmers and them people there, Matt, depending on document labor. And one thing I noticed with those Republican politicians, Matt, they always talking about illegal immigrants. But it's mostly Republican business people that hire in them, Matt, because if there's not a demand, you cannot have so many people coming in. And the border between Canada and America is wider than the border between America and help me out. Mexico. Yeah, it's the border in Canada, Matt, is way how many miles wider than Mexico? So that foreign policy, Crispin, I don't know if you'll agree with me. To me, have a lot of elements in it. Because as you rightly mentioned, most people there are people coming on visa and overstaying, Matt. So I don't know how they're going to carry that one out. Anyway, keep doing it, man. I just regret and very sad to know we haven't got that level of intelligence representing us, Matt, on international issue. I don't know why. Not our best supposed to lead the rest. And when I looking at people like Crispin, and that's the best, the finest Dominica have to offer, and they cannot serve us the way they're supposed to, the impact they should have on us in Dominica. It's a pity they haven't got the opportunity, man. Thank you so much.
Oh boy, many people are trying to get in there, but it's kind of difficult. I understand. 154 is the afternoon time, but Al is a very lucky guy. He gets in, when he has to. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Just quickly, Matt. Obama deported over 3 million illegal immigrants. Crispin, my beloved brother, you can do your research on it. This is America, quite racist. And we're trying to be logical about it, talking about, farmers and who will harvest this and who will harvest that. America does not care. More than they are the deep staters and all the skinheads, the Ku Klux Klan, a lot of them who supported Trump, and Trump has to do something to appease them. It's like a reward. You think they give a damn about America more than they want to get rid of all these illegal foreign migrants? Obama get rid of over 3 million of them. So Trump have a higher number, but they're going to attempt to do it anyway. It's not about the success of it or the failure of it, you know. They just have to threaten to do it. I watched the thing, people running to Canada already crossing the border. Canada saying it's going to shut down its border. So the world is a whole big mess. So let us watch how it's going to play out. Blessings.
Let's see how it goes. 1:55 is the afternoon time. A lot of text messages coming here. 449-3095. The numbers again: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. We're having a conversation with our former ambassador to the United Nations. How well do you think we're doing at the UN this time? And we have a new rep there.
Yeah, we have a new ambassador. I think he's been there for more than a year. Ambassador Aaron.
Aaron.
The
think we're well represented at the UN. I mean, I'm not sure if you want
to. I don't pay
too much attention
these days. I do know that the ambassador Aaron's there. I know that Kelva Daru is the deputy permanent representative, and then there's Paolo Zampoli, is a member of the delegation, and his wife, Miss Ongaro, I think is the name. So there is a husband and wife team in the delegation. So I have not paid much attention to the.
You think our interests have been well represented there?
Well, the fact that we have an ambassador now makes things different, because for a while after Miss Lauren Bannis left, there was a gap for a while with no ambassador, no permanent representative in place. But we had the deputy, Mr. Daru was the chargé d'affaires then. I don't know. The one thing that I would note, Matt, is that I find some interesting things about some foreign policy moves of Dominica, and that is, like, for example, our prime minister doesn't like to go to the UN.
He doesn't like to go?
Well, he hasn't been to the UN much, Matt. I mean, he's been the prime minister for 20 years. How many times has he been to the UN? Do you know?
I have some research on that one.
Maybe about 5 times.
Why though?
I don't know, but he sends the president, who is the head of state, but not the head of government, and so that it doesn't
rings a
for
few
me.
bells there.
For me, I don't get it, because the head of government should be the one going to the UN, not the head of state. But something I noticed, Matt, and I have to mention it. I saw that the prime minister did go to India recently to some conference,
and he's given our highest award to the Indian prime minister.
Yes, but what piqued my interest was that he didn't go to the Commonwealth Heads of Government conference, but he went to India around the same time when the Commonwealth Heads of Government conference was going on. So I wondered why was that a higher priority not to go to the CHOGM, to the Commonwealth Heads of Government? I don't know, Matt. Maybe you might you might be able to answer that one. You go to the press conference.
Maybe he had he had more interest in meeting the Indian prime minister,
maybe,
or officials there.
Well, the Indian prime minister was at the CHOGM, was at the Commonwealth Heads of Government,
but he chose to give him the highest award. I don't know, but I guess we'll investigate further. Hello, talk to me, yeah?
Hey, good afternoon to you, Matthew.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mr. Crispin, how you doing, man?
I'm fine. Yes.
But, yeah, you are, Matt, and as well as you probably know, I've been talking about the geopolitical situation that has been happening. And a lot of people, history have a bad way of repeating itself. We all knew, I'm a child of 1979, so I know that was called the Year of Revolution. But we all know what happened during that time, and we've seen very much parallels happening today with the realignment of the global powers and who they can influence and how they can get into the hearts of their foes and adversaries or their competitors. There is no secret that humankind over this millennia, over the years we have existed, there's always been juxtaposition. There's always been a realignment of power. We've seen what happened in the old days with the great empires from Constantinople back to the Greeks and several empires that have ruled. But besides the point, one constant that has always been with all this juxtaposition is economics. Economics, who controls the wealth, who controls the resources, who controls the money. And with the recent election of Donald Trump, it has sealed for me in my mind why economics is important, because irrespective of what has been happening in the US in terms of diversity and environmental stuff, the American population was concerned about the inflation, their pockets, their money, who's making them money. Matthew, a lot of people don't realize slavery and oppression was about economics. It was the using of other people, of other generations and race to do work for productivity, to build wealth for the European nation. And Mr. Gregor mentioned something about the water we have in Dominica. And I have said several times, the relationship over the past 20 years with China and Dominica is a waste of time because we ship absolutely nothing to China. And our leaders are yet to realize in all this, economics is what matters, because of the Belt and Road Initiative, what it is how they can build the wealth of China with the new hybrid free market system. But here's an interesting fact. The African population is 1.4 billion. China population is 1.42 billion. India population is 1.45 billion. US population is about 345 million. So that means a country with 345 million people have the highest GDP per capita in the world, one of the highest GDP per capita in the world. It's not the highest, but it has the largest economy. What that tells you is that 345 million people are generating enough production to have the highest GDP in the world. So can you imagine the potential of Africa, China, and India if the majority of the population was put into good productivity? How does that relate to the Caribbean? The Caribbean on a whole has about 44 million people if we include Puerto Rico, if we include the Bahamas and the other islands. That's a very large population. The problem here is we as Black people have yet to realize that the countries that we are going to and asking for stuff, we are buying their produce, we're buying their milk, we're buying their cornflakes, we're buying all their produce, is really using that to build their wealth capacity. And we have not utilized our population in the true sense of productivity so we can build a country. The situation we have in Dominica where people just go beg for this, we beg for that, and how does that relate to the international airport? Here it is, we have an international airport that is built from our passport deals, that is built from our CBI revenue. But that revenue goes back to China. So, gentlemen, you see where the issue is. You see where the stupidity of our leadership is. You see where our people are ignorant of the fact that every oppression has an economic component. And while we're talking about geopolitical issues, while we are talking about the Chinese influence in Dominica, while we are talking about President Trump, the guy is like a king. He owns buildings, he has everything marked on his name. He's out of touch. Look at who he has, Elon Musk, billionaires. What we don't realize is the 1% of the population that controls the 99% of the people who go to the stores, who go to the stuff and make these folks wealthy. Everything Matt Peltier and Mr. Gregor is about economics. Who controls the power, who controls the purse, and who controls the people. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because we as people in the Caribbean, we as people, Black people, have to realize it's about time we build our economic capacity with the large population that we have had spread through the world as a result of slavery. You go to South America, there's the largest Black population in South America. You go to the Caribbean, it's majority Black. You go to North America, it's majority Black. Now we have Black people in Europe, and we have yet to realize our economic potential in our numbers. And here lies the issue. So now we're talking about these guys, but guess what? They're building products, they're building a material, they're building equipment, and we sit there and we just buy. We have a relationship with a country that is an industrial country in China. Their GDP per capita is lower than Barbados, by the way. But because they have so much productivity, they have the second largest economy in the world. But yet still, we ship absolutely nothing to them. And we sit there with our hands out, our mouths tied, and we're begging and we expect the world to change for us when we have no economic power. At the end of the day, when we realize as people, our strength is in our numbers, our strength is in our productivity, then we will start seeing a change. But as long as we start begging people for things, begging for them to do this for us, begging for them to tell us our history, we have a relationship for 20 years, and the government of Dominica has yet to realize the most important thing is capitalizing on the market in China by even selling water. We yet to do that to benefit our people. We'll forever remain beggars, and no matter what happens in Russia, the US, China, India, and all these industrial countries, then we will be the rot of the world. And the leaders in, I mean, you guys have heard Donald Trump. You've heard the last time what he called Caribbean countries, African countries. And I think it's about time we realize what makes us where we need to be is capitalizing on the 44 plus million people in the Caribbean, capitalizing on the large African population, capitalizing on our productive capacity, our intellectual capacity, and building things for us.
All right, I'll tell you what. Because of time, we'll have to cut you off, Mr. Matthew, but as usual, a lot of food for thought here. I'm sure, Crispin, you would agree.
No, I agree with a lot of what Matthew said, and it's all about economics. We got to begin to focus on economics and how do we build a new economy here. That's the task ahead for our country.
All right, a few other people are trying to call in. So call in at this time. We have until 2:15 to engage. I know, Crispin, a lot of people don't know, but I know you played an integral part with the geothermal energy that we're now trying to harness. What's your take on geothermal at this time?
No, I think it's an important resource to be exploited, and Dominica is well endowed. Like we have water, we also have significant geothermal energy. We have 9 active volcanoes. I'm told by the Icelandic engineers that we have over 1,000 megawatts of potential electric power in Dominica, in these mountains that we have. So it was actually, Matt, it was Pierre Charles, the Prime Minister, the late Prime Minister, who tasked me with.
He started that discussion.
Starting the geothermal, yes. And he said to me, since you've been working in foundations, you should go and raise money for us. And I said, okay, all right, I'll try. And we raised the first 8 million euros. I was pretty much responsible for that. And that was for the exploration, the drilling, the first set of drilling. And that money was raised between the French Fund for Environment in Paris and the European Union, because I had to, actually, European Union had a matching grant, and you had to get 50% from another financing partner. So I was able to get the French Fund for Environment to do that, and that's how we got the 8 million euros.
But I think, as I've heard many an environmentalist said that we're spending a lot too much money on this geothermal project.
We have spent a lot. I think geothermal, it has upfront costs, so you don't always see it. And then when we did the drilling, we probably didn't get the best results. My worry is that we're building a 10 megawatt plant, Matt, and while that's a good step forward, but it doesn't solve our longer term energy challenge, because our installed demand for electric power is about 20 megawatts. When we build a 10 megawatts, that does not get us off diesel. Our objective as a country is to get off totally of diesel. And we are capable of being 100% on renewable. We have water, we have hydro, we have wind, we have solar, we have geothermal, we have wave action. All of those things combined will give us 100%. But here we are 20 years after Pierre Charles, when Pierre Charles was saying at the World Summit on Sustainable Development in Johannesburg in 2002 that in 12 years that Dominica would be off oil for electricity. But here we are. We got a sugar candy called Petrocarib. We loved it so much. We're still dependent on diesel from Venezuela. So, I'm saying, what step forward did we make? We haven't really made much of a step forward. And geothermal, we don't even have a geothermal plant yet. And that might take another 2 years to build I think we have all the financing and And Matt, I did have another issue I wanted to raise just to pique the interest of the listening audience, and that is the marina that's going to be built at Portsmouth. I'm a supporter of economic progress and infrastructure that will advance our country. But I do have a concern about a company that's going to build that marina because they have they have a track record of building the Kempinski Hotel. But I would really like to challenge that company to give us an audited kind of report on how it spent all the money that it raised. Because Matt, I'm reading of a case in the New York Supreme Court where this company Range that built the Kempinski, they raised this sold about 800 passports and raised a lot of money.
And they walked away with a few millions.
Yes, they walked away with a lot of millions for themselves, which really should go to the Dominican people. And now they come back and they now have a big project to do the marina. And I think that's really something that the Dominican people should pay greater attention to, because that company has questions about this Kempinski Hotel it built. And now they're coming back and they've gotten in their back pocket that contract to do the marina. And I feel that what we know from the New York Supreme Court case that was filed by Paolo Zampoli, that company is not above board. That's all I'll say.
So we have to watch that company very closely.
I would like to see that company give us a true accounting of the monies it raised for the Kempinski Hotel.
All right, thank you. Our last question to you, Mr. Ambassador. I mean, you've sat there in the area in Grand Bay for a few weeks. What about the local politics in Grand Bay? What do you think is going to happen there? I'm hearing that the power rep may step out. I don't know what's his situation there. Do you think we'll ever see change in Grand Bay?
Well, change is inevitable. It always come. I don't know. It depends on the players. I don't know too much, but from being in Grand Bay, I never did get a chance to see I never saw the PAL rep.
Mm-hmm.
He's been very busy with a lot of meetings abroad, but there's a lot of scuttle, but about that he will not seek another term. I don't know. I thought he was the heir apparent, and some people are saying no, that he's not in the running to be the next.
Well, do you think, a direct question to you, do you think that the people of Grand Bay got the representation that they've been looking for from Mr. Vince Anderson?
Well, I think the majority of Grand Bay people have questions about his presence. He doesn't live in the community. He's not physically present. He doesn't really know too many people. He doesn't have any organization on the ground. I looked at the fact that there was a village council election and the Labour Party was not even able to put up a slate of candidates. That tells me that the constituency is in disarray.
There's something troubling to you.
Yes, the constituency leadership is in disarray. I don't think the Grand Bay people are happy with the representation they're getting. And they're already talking about the next PAL rep. So I don't know. It baffles me. But I should say, Matt, though, about the DLP
The
Delegates Conference.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I would say that I'm very happy that the DLP had the Delegates Conference, because they have not been living true to their constitution by not having one for
Right.
what 12 years, Matt?
From 2012 to 2024. I wrote that.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So that the fact that they have come back to their constitutional provision is good. I was expecting from the Delegates Conference maybe some perspective on the succession. I didn't see anything new, so I don't know if there's a succession process in place, or going on. I've seen new people on the executive, and it's good. But the thing is that there was no executive before. We haven't had an executive for 12 years. So I'm saying I'm happy for the Labour Party that they are going back to their true principles of good governance of the party's constitution. Let us see how their new executive performs and whether they will do. But I think it's important for the new executive to focus on the fact that they have to do the electoral reform so that we can have a level playing field.
But because of the fact that they went back to the true principle, we saw them attract a guy like Tiani Behanzin. Any talk on that? Any quick comment?
Well, all I can say is that Tiani saw an opportunity for him to redeem himself and to get close to those people in power. I thought that Tiani would have brought in more of the former Laborites with him, but he brought nobody but himself. So that tells me that things are not whatever Tiani wanted to do has not really borne fruit. He didn't bring any of the former Laborites. When that happens, then I will say that Tiani has made some progress.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Crispin. Thank you. And my friend Tiani, I heard from the grapevine that you worried about a comment I made about that you and Sean signed some, and of course presented to the DNO. You were thinking of taking legal action, huh? Mr. Tiani, go back to that year when you and Sean allegedly signed a document about the Labour Party, and so you can get a full review on the Dominica News Online. You don't have to wait until I present the document. So go get a review on the Dominica News Online, huh? And find out what you signed there. Okay, Mr. Tiani? No need to take legal action against Matt Peltier. I have not released. Not yet. But in the meantime, you can look for DNO and the big contract the big document you signed. That's all I'm going to leave you with this afternoon there. This is the Talk on the Block. So I don't have to make that statement or that document available. It's already on DNO, Tiani. Crispin, thank you very much for coming this afternoon.
It was a great honor, Matt. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I really enjoyed it. And thank you to the listeners who called in and those who listened. And
thank you.
It was a great opportunity.
All right, bye.
Attention homeowners, contractors, tradesmen, and all. Here's great news from Eaststar Trading Limited. Just received a wide range of German premium quality power tools, vacuum cleaners, cement mixers, power wash machines, and more. And grass cutters at only $595. Visit our showroom upstairs of the supermarket on the bayfront for world-class Ronix power tools, swipers, power car wash, spray guns, and many more items, all at 220 volts to 50 hertz, and all at affordable prices. Eaststar Trading Limited, making a difference for you.
Dominicans, Dominicans, enjoy your property, protect your property. You homeowner and businessman, protect your property, enjoy your property. Can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till you flood again, can't wait till your roof fly out and all your business coming out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season and insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseau. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and get insured today.
The case is constructed based on the Dominican Constitution on the principle that all monies and revenues earned by the government is meant to be paid in the consolidated fund. Significant funds are not reaching the consolidated fund, but is being spent pursuant to other types of arrangements.
And so, the United Workers' Party and All Patriots presents another big radiothon on the big station Q95 on the hot set on Wednesday, the 20th of November, 2024 from 12 noon. We are looking forward to your contribution. It's time the authorities bring the people's money back to the people's treasury. Participate, donate, and be counted. My dear Dominicans, it's your country. It's our country. Let's save it.
All right, good afternoon to you, Dominica. We have a few more minutes. We'll be spending some time, about 15 minutes at the Colombian Expo in a few minutes. But in the meantime, in between time, let's take your phone calls. We're going to open up the lines here and maybe comment or question Mr. Crispin Gregoire has left the building. 2:22 is the afternoon time. Talk to me. Yes? Hello?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. How are you?
I'm good. What about Dr. Thompson Fontaine case today? He didn't call or what?
As a matter of fact, I have to call him in a minute, so I will give you an update, okay? All right.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Yes, on the line with us this afternoon. Of course, we did say we'd give you an update. The case of Mr. Dr. Fontaine, who was scheduled to reappear in court this morning. Dr. Fontaine, good afternoon to you, sir. How are you doing?
Matt, good afternoon to you and to your listeners. I'm doing well. All good.
Well, I'm happy you're doing well. Can you give us put in perspective for us what happened today at the court? I know it was your second day or your second time in court, yes.
Yes, it was the second time. I appeared, as you may recall, on Thursday, and it was adjourned to today. Now, the expectation was, as the prosecution informed the court, that today they would have 4 of the key witnesses, so very senior police officers, all police or former police officers, as the key witnesses today. So we showed up this morning, and only one of the 4 witnesses showed up, of the 4 that was expected. So the prosecution requested of the court that they be given additional time to try to find their witnesses, and the matter was postponed to December the 16th to allow the prosecution time to summon the witnesses. They indicated that they summoned them, they did not show up, but they want to try again to get them into court. So that is now scheduled for the 16th of December.
Can I ask you a question, Dr. Fontaine? Would you be able to tell me the name of these witnesses? They were called in out there in the public. The names were called out, right?
They were called in open court, so there is no secret. The witnesses that they expected today was the former commissioner of police, Carbon, the ground commander at the time, Superintendent Matthew Coffey, and the third individual. I made a note of it. And there's a third. Oh yes, and the third officer, Corporal Ivan Seja, and Inspector Sixton Thomas was the one who showed up today.
Well, I somewhat expected that. That's all I will say for now. I somewhat expected that some of those witnesses might never show.
Yeah, but I don't know what's going on. I find, it is really strange, this particular case and what they're trying to say, what they're trying to prove. For example, they brought on the Fixon Inspector Thomas, Henderson. Sorry, I keep saying Thomas Felix. Henderson, Fixon Henderson. They brought him on this morning, and he said, well, he took several pictures and so on, but there's no pictures of me in any of what it is. So it's not clear. It's a very confused kind of case that the prosecution is putting on. But that's all I can say for now. Hopefully I'll have a lot more to say after the witnesses appear. But it's an ongoing case, so I don't want to prejudice the case in any way. But just to say it continues to be a waste of time, a colossal waste of time. I just still can't believe that this government would spend those kind of resources effectively on a wild goose chase. I continue to maintain my innocence, and the court will ultimately, verify that I have nothing to do with anything that they're claiming that I did.
All right. Well, I'm happy. So what happens? What happens with your next appearance?
My next appearance, the expectation is that the witnesses will show up because the prosecution gave the court the assurance that they will show up, or if they don't show up, that they will end their case.
They will end their case. Interesting. And these are 3 of the main witnesses.
Well, that's what they say, because the other witnesses, apparently, I'm not even sure why they even showed up, why they even came there. Because they seem to have nothing of material importance in terms of what I've been charged for. So, the thing is, when those 3 officers show up, or if they don't show up, whether they show up or not, the expectation is that the prosecution will rest its case on the 16th, and then it will be the time of my attorney now to take over.
All right. So when is the next? What date that they have scheduled this case for? The next case?
That's December 16th.
December 16th. Very interesting. I'll call you personally in a little while and share some information. But anyway, okay. We'll get more information as we go along. Thank you very much, Dominica. Thank you very much, Dominica. The rest.
Matt. And let me just say, Matt, let me just thank all the people that have prayed. And there's several persons today who either called me or came by the court to assure me of their prayers.
And you know, Thompson, just to say, given I've been following, these matters there over the years, if these officers, they seem to be police officers, do not show, they'll have to issue a bench warrant.
Yes. Yes.
And the question is, will they issue a bench warrant?
Well, yeah. Well, that's left to be seen. What happens there? Because that's normally the procedure. If you have someone to appear and you don't appear, then the court can enforce a bench warrant. But you
remember you did not appear, and where they placed you?
One time, Matt. The one time I did not appear. Yes, a bench warrant was issued for my arrest. Correct.
That's all I'll say for now. Thompson Fontaine, I want to say good afternoon to you again. You wanted to make any final comment before you go?
Matt, again, just to say a big thank you to the people of Dominica for their continued support. We're going through this because we believe in justice and we believe in the cause of justice, but we also believe in standing for the people of Dominica. I'm in this predicament along with the other members of my United Workers Party because we decided to stand on the side of truth and speaking truth to power. And, the court ultimately will vindicate us, I believe, and we'll continue to fight this with everything that we have. So a big thank you to the people of Dominica for the strength and the support as we continue to go through this ordeal, this prosecution that we are under.
All right, Dr. Thompson Fontaine, I suspect you may have to leave and come back very soon.
It's possible, Matt. I'm looking at all the possibilities, but I certainly will be in court on it.
All right, thank you very much, sir. We do appreciate it. Thank you. There's some things, intelligence that I may have, but some things are better left unsaid. In the next few minutes, I have to go to my friends there at the Colombian Expo. On the telephone. Hello, talk to me, yes?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Matt, I believe you just hit the nail on the head. If these guys do not show up,
police officers,
rather than issue a bench warrant, they will drop the case right there. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Or issue bench warrants for the former commissioner of police and the commander on the ground. All I will say at this time, there's some things I can't reveal, I know, but I can't reveal. Hello, talk to me on the telephone.
Yeah, Mr. Pelke, quickly, I noticed you have to go to your expo.
Yes, I have to.
Yeah, Matt, let me just say quickly, my brother.
Yes.
What is happening in Dominica, Matt? I don't want to use sabotage and guerrilla warfare in any context. But I just mentioned those two, sabotage and guerrilla warfare. That is three words, Matt. I just using that loosely. Matt, that level of persecution in that country. My brother, Matt, you know about Vince and Skerritt and the what's the name? Miss Burton and all of that. You read it, Matt?
Uh-huh.
Matt, you see the caution that happening in Dominica. And that's why I calling on Vince. I mean, I hear some insiders want Vince there. You remember when I come out with a voice note about Vince for Prime Minister?
Mm-hmm.
And then Brian come out and talk about Vince for Prime Minister. Matt, I knew nothing, I was just quite perplexed, Matt, puzzled that all that abuse by those criminals, by that man they call him Skerritt, and nobody's putting up a fight, Matt, publicly if you have to. So it is sad to see the way that boy is just going around making a fool of everybody, grown men that could even be his father, some of them, and now Skerritt just figure out he want to be president and he will put Ayenis Asani, Matt. Is that true, Asani, he wants as a successor?
Kasani, not Asani, Kasani.
It's Kana? Okay, sorry. So I am just saying, Matt, Dominicans have to rise up, my brother. Rise up and fight to save your country. If you lose your screw tie, your key marks, your gold chain, your shoes, my brother, you ready to kill and die. You're looking to lose a country, and you sit down there waiting for who? I can fight again, oh. Have a blessed day.
Have a blessed day. And the name, I think Dr. Thompson Fontaine was trying to pronounce is Ivan. I think it's Ivan. Ivan Dejean, huh? Not Sejan, Ivan Dejean. He's a ex-corporal of police. Or if you want, retired. Have you ever seen a police? Have you ever heard of a police being given a bench warrant? While on suspension? Connect the dots, Dominica, connect the dots. You're very intelligent people. I repeat, have you ever seen a police officer issued a bench warrant while on suspension? That's all I'll say. Connect the dots. So Mr. Ivan, as a retired corporal of police, the other is on suspension. And of course, we know of the former commissioner of police. What's his standing at this time? I don't know. All right, let's take our final call this afternoon. The hello, talk to me. Our final call. Yes, talk to me. Yes? Hello?
Yes, Matt.
Yes, sir.
I am asking whether the judge that on that case has got no heart in his heart. Or he doesn't hear what happened and he don't know karma is at the back of him. Very, 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 very soon. Karma. That judge that is on that case.
He's a magistrate, not a judge. A magistrate.
That magistrate that is on that case. Have mercy upon you.
I don't think you want to blame the magistrate so much, huh? All I will say at this time, connect the dots.